What's up, all my movie-loving maniacs? This is your boy Bangful B of the Lassiter Factor, and I am here with a TV review of Fight Night, the $1 Million Heist, which wrapped up last week on Peacock. So let's review. So Fight Night takes place in Atlanta during the early 70s, and it's about a heist that went down on the night of Muhammad Ali's big comeback fight. And in the midst of this heist is Chicken Man, his side piece Vivian, a couple of gangster bosses, and a cop that is investigating the whole thing. Plus, I should also mention that this show is based on a true story, or at least loosely based on a true story. Now, when I first heard about the show and saw the trailer and saw who was in it, I was like, that seems interesting. Maybe I'll check it out. And then Peacock, they released the first three episodes, I think, on Peacock. And then after that, I was just hooked on this show. Because I'll admit, I was a little worried at first because the show did kind of have a slow start. But then once the show really got going and we got to see the people that was behind the heist and everyone that was involved, both in front of and behind the heist, I should say, people get framed for it, and the show just kept me on the edge of my seat and to see how this show was going to play out. And to be quite honest, this show is tied for X-Men 97 as my favorite show of 2024 because I absolutely love the show. I love the show more and more after each episode. Like, to me, this was one of those shows where I couldn't wait for a new episode because I wanted to see what would happen next. And I just love the storytelling that's within the show because, of course, it is a black show, but it's also made to look like an exploitation film, which also adds to it and made the show more accessible for everybody to watch. Plus, this is also one of those shows that had really good dialogue. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Quentin Tarantino, he ghost wrote some of these episodes because some of the things that came out of some of these characters' mouths, like, I instantly rewind just so I could have it in my head, especially after everything that came out of Samuel Jackson's mouth on the show, but more on him in a little bit. But to me, this show is so good that I try to get some of my friends hooked on it, and I was enjoying watching the show from the beginning because I'll admit, as to who was behind the heist and why it happened, that's the part where I was blanking on. And so when I went back and watched it with some of my friends, I was like, oh, like that's how good the show is. Like, it has good replay value. But among all the goodness that's in the show, it is also the cast that makes the show, like Kevin Hart. For Kevin Hart plays Chicken Man. He's basically a hustler on the street. He basically planned the whole party in which the heist went down, but he's not behind it. But he is framed for it, and so now he's just watching behind his back and trying to clear his name. And he has to partner up with Don Cheadle's character to help clear his name and prove to Samuel Jackson's character, who is also a gangster, that he didn't plan the whole heist. But what I also appreciated about this role is that it's basically a man trying to do the right thing, but he just keeps making all the wrong decisions, and then by the end of it, he becomes righteous. And now he has to atone for his mistakes. And to me, this is also Kevin Hart's best performance, at least in my opinion. And maybe it's because when you put him in a period piece, that's where he excels as a dramatic actor. And he had a really good monologue at the very last episode that basically summed up his entire character arc. And that doesn't mean he wasn't funny at all. I mean, he does lend some laughs to the show, but it struck the right balance. Taraji Henson plays Vivian, and she's the side piece to Chicken Man in the show. And I also liked her art because she is a former stripper, and then she's helping him, and then she begins to come into her own and realize, you know what, I am a boss bitch, and I'm just happy that Taraji is able to get work after the whole Color Purple debacle. Don Cheadle, he plays the cop on the show, JD Hudson, and it's also fascinating to see him on the show with Kevin Hart, and he has to partner up with Kevin Hart on the show after that little interview he did with Kevin Hart, where Kevin Hart called Don Cheadle old. But regardless, both of these two together, they work perfectly together, especially on this show because Don Cheadle, spoiler alert, he is the reason why Chicken Man, he had to go to jail, and especially at that time, a black man arresting another black man, like that's controversial in itself. And then he on the show also begins to question, like, is he on the right side of the law, and did he really get into the police for the right reasons? Terrence Howard is on the show as Richie, and quick side note, now we know why he wore them ridiculous wigs in those interviews. But he's technically on the show as a special guest appearance, but let's just say they do something with his character that I did not expect, and you will understand why he's credited as special guest star. And I should also point out that this is a show where we got both versions of Rhodey. But to me, the true star of this show is Samuel L. Jackson as the Black Godfather. And he really, truly was. Like, to me, this is a version of Sam Jackson I thought was buried years ago. To me, this is Pulp Fiction Sam Jackson right here. Because he has some of my favorite lines on this show. He's cool, calm, collected. I'm telling you, watch the show just for Sam Jackson right here. Like, he basically out charisma everybody on this show. I'm telling you, all these older and respected actors and even comedic actor have a moment to shine on the show. But it isn't just them, it's also the secondary cast that has a moment to shine. Like the guys that play the robbers on this show, some of them played by Melvin Gregg, aka Manboy from Snowfall. You also get Sam Odigaki, forgive me if I mispronounce his name, Miles Bullock, Dexter Darder, who plays Muhammad Ali on the show, who did get a lot of hate on Twitter for his performance on this show. Yeah, but as his arc basically went on, he did get a little bit better, and I kind of warmed up to him, especially when he was paired up with Don Cheadle, and they have a little heart to heart on the show. Hell, they even had David Banner on the show, and he had one of my favorite line deliveries where he was, "We supposed to be the baddest niggas in America, and we got robbed in front of a bunch of bitches." But seeing him go toe to toe with Sam Jackson was just fun to watch. I'm sure a lot of people did not expect Chloe Bailey to be on the show, and for the little time that she's on the show, it's definitely significant, trust me. And she definitely held her, particularly with Samuel L. Jackson, and it's just heartbreaking the way her story ends on this show. But it's Chloe Bailey paired with Sam Jackson. Not only did this show give us a good, well written, and engaging story, but I also love how this show was basically an ode to how Atlanta became a black mecca for the black community. Hell, this show ends with them playing Country Shit by Big Crit doing the end credits. And if you know who Big Crit is, you're a real one and have good taste in music. And above all, I just love how this show was basically made for black folks and made by black folks. Everybody, whether you're A-list, B-list, C-list actor, everyone was on the top of their game and had a chance to shine. Even made people aware of something that happened in the past that I don't even think a lot of people really know about. If you have not watched this show, I highly recommend it. All episodes are out. It's just a mini series, and this show is definitely worth paying for a Peacock subscription. But right now, I'm gonna give Fight Night the $1 million heist the hard eyes emoji, but I might give it just a little bit of leeway for it to go up to the hands up emoji, because this show, at least to me, it is a masterpiece, but I don't want to just put that label on it quite yet. I want to let it sit on me first. But for right now, hard eyes emoji. Easily. This is your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Peace.